Hello, hello.
All right, what's up, everybody?
How are you? We are back. We made it, and we got the president with us.
The president of the council.
Hey, that's right.
We made it.
We're working our way up.
Yeah, we're getting there, man. Hey, so first off, welcome. Thanks for coming back to Just Cause and tuning in. The thing with Just Cause is this is exactly what we started out to do. We wanted to talk about the things in Colorado Springs that locally that are affecting us in our government, that is affecting us in our social interactions, and our city council. They're very interactive. They do engage with us, and as we all know, we got a city council race coming up here soon.
Whoops, sorry. See, this is what I do every time.
Yeah, so we got a city council race coming up. You could just turn it down. Yeah. But all of the candidates, we've invited them on, and we got the great Richard Skorman.
Well,
he's kind of a city institution at this point.
Yeah, everybody knows. Everyone knows him. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. How are you this morning?
He came here before Geislinger.
Yeah, oh yeah, he got here before Geislinger. Now I think we sent Geislinger an invite, the very first one, and Yolanda answered, you answered, and now we're just waiting on Geislinger.
Come on, Geislinger. All right, so do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so hey, thank you guys so much for coming. We have Richard Skorman and Sally Davis. This is the campaign manager for Richard's campaign coming up. And so if you guys could tell us a little bit about yourselves and what's going on, and we got a few questions for you.
Then we're gonna grill the crap out of you guys now.
Okay, we're good. I have a bright light I can shine on my head if you want to.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
If you like a police interview, but
are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Well, Sally is my campaign manager, and she was when I ran in 2017, and she's somebody who I really trust, who's very seasoned, and I've decided to run again. It was a hard decision. I actually went back and forth because, as you know, we had to close our restaurant and cafe and wine bar in July, and we haven't been able to reopen them again because of COVID. So, and those are the two parts of the business that are mine. My wife runs the bookstore and the toy store. So we weren't certain if vaccines are going to be out there, and I was going to be running and trying to get up to speed with the new council and trying to open up our businesses, but we figured out a good game plan. So, and there are several things that I wanted to continue to do, and that I also wanted to see if we could institute some new ideas and initiatives, depending on how good the council is.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm going to sign up for another 4 years if the voters want me, and we'll see, what happens. But this will be my last run. I'm 68. I will have been on council for 15 years if I get through that. A couple of different iterations. This will be my 5th election that I've run in. I've won 4, and hopefully we'll win 4 with this one, and lost 1 for mayor in 2011. I made it to the runoff and the first strong mayor, but lost to Steve Bach.
Okay.
So this is my mini career. I tell everybody I have a master's degree in city council.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I actually left Colorado Springs for 12 years, and I believe you were a council member when I left, and then when I got back, you were still a council member. I was like,
yeah, a lot of people say that, like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Folks left and come back, and Skorman is still there. So I guess that kind of leads us to our first question is, were you a successful city councilman? Do you believe that you were successful?
Yes, both before and now. A lot of it depends on the council that you work with. So it's been a pretty good council this time. Yolanda and I have done some really good things together, that we've made some good progress on things that we've been trying to work on, but there's a lot more to do. I think that there's a good chance this will be another, decent council. But I feel like we've done a lot. In fact, I can list some things. Certainly Yolanda, with my support, and she's been the main leader, has gotten several $1 million of investment in the southeast part of the city, including more of a one-stop shop for the county to have their Department of Social Services and the health department. Peak Vista, opening up a major facility there. All these things, Yolanda had a big piece in. I did too. Panorama Park is a great addition to the community. It's going to be a substantial park for that area. And so I feel good about how the two of us have worked together. And I think we made some progress on a lot of other issues, but we have a long way to go. One of the things that I've been the most passionate about is trying to retire the Drake power plant soon. In fact, I've been working on it for 20 years, and it was promised to me in 2005 when I was on council before that it would be gone by about 2012 or 14, but it wasn't. And so we had to do make a lot of efforts in that regard. But in the process, there's a whole number of other initiatives that our council or utility board has been able to push through that has really been valuable, I think, for our climate future. And so we are now, at about 25% renewable energy. I think we're going to get up into the 30s and 40s soon. We will probably get off of coal completely by 2030 at the Nixon power plants, the only place we do it. Okay. We're putting in place a major system of being able to monitor meters and to have neighborhood solar storage. And so people that want to put solar panels on their homes, we will probably be able to place batteries in their neighborhoods so they can essentially be off the grid and be able to power their own, but to also have a great opportunity to really control our demand. And if you think about Colorado Springs, one of the looming issues with climate change is the heat envelope that we have here. We're 2.5 degrees hotter than the rest of the state. The state's often in the top 10 biggest states in terms of heat gain in the country. And then you have neighborhoods like the Southeast that are 6 to 8 degrees hotter than the rest of the city.
Right.
So what we're predicting is that over the next 5 years, 70% of all residential homes will have air conditioners. And air conditioners are what we're now building power for. And at peak demands or in July, they're not in December or Christmas. And so there's a real opportunity to be proactive in that climate change arena, not just what we're doing with utilities, but also how we construct and reconstruct our built environment. And that's something I wanted to run for council again for, because I don't think we're doing enough. Houston, for example, has reduced their heat envelope by 30% just by simply requiring white roofs and light pavement.
Right.
Should we let people, or should we require people to plant trees on the south side of the house? Should we require their attics be smaller? All the different things. And it's about saving ratepayers, but it's also about our portion of contributing to the climate change problem. And natural gas is what we're going to really wean ourselves of. And natural gas in itself isn't terrible, but what happens in its extraction and in its storage and shipping is leaking. And methane gas is the worst greenhouse gas out there. And so we're going to electrify homes. We're not going to put natural gas in them anymore. We're going to really try to move down that road of making a lot of efforts. And what I hope we do is that we really help people that already live here, and especially low-income residents, retrofit their homes. And do what we've been doing, in some ways, but we can do much more in terms of saving people money and energy, and also helping to reduce our load.
Yeah.
So go ahead, and I'm sure there's other questions. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this plan that you're envisioning, how does it work? How will the poor people in the city be able to access these things? And right as it is right now, we're being told that the inventory on the housing market is the reason why, one of the reasons why we don't have it's affecting our homelessness rate, and of course the cost of living and things like this is being affected just by simply the inventory of houses. So if we're trying to switch the infrastructure and build more houses at the same time, does that cost more money, or is that going to be cheaper for us?
Well, what we need to do is really make sure that everything in the built environment is as efficient as it can be. And so there's a great nonprofit out there that really goes in and helps retrofit homes. Oh. And many communities have actually put together loan programs. They call them PACE programs, where you can borrow money from the government, and the government goes in and retrofits, and then the government's paid back by the savings. So the first 4 or 5 or 6 years. So that's a way to really get to commercial and business. But what we need to do is be proactive. In fact, I was involved with a group called the Conservation Corps, and Project Smart Light, and we put 65,000 at the time compact fluorescent bulbs in low-income homes. And there's a group in New Orleans called Project Green Light that we were patterning ourselves after. But I'm not saying that we want to do that anymore. That, that was back when before LED and all that. But I think as we save people money, we're also helping to save demand on the grid. And I think that's a really important message. And everybody needs to participate, not just new homes. The new homes are going to go on. There's nothing that we can do to stop growth here. I always joke and say, except mandatory birth control or euthanasia or a terrible recession. So
I'm sure jokes about mandatory euthanasia go over well as a
yeah, it went over well, especially with all of us old people on city council.
Yeah.
And,
so do we have a program in Colorado Springs? Because low-income folks oftentimes, the ones in the homes that they're old, they're leaky. I've lived in a lot of these old homes that are very drafty. They're expensive to
the Conservation Resource Center. It's over off of Platte, and they do a great job. And they're really out there knocking on people's doors. They're paying for replacing of water heaters that are inefficient and heating systems, and
at no cost to the homeowners.
No cost to the homeowner. And or the renter, and it's just a matter, they have a long waiting list. So it's a matter of funding, and that would be a hope in my mind, as I could help, and maybe Yolanda and other people really help lead a community fundraising effort to get that nonprofit really up and running. And I mean, they do a lot. They do hundreds and hundreds of homes a year, and they really focus on low income homes. But still, it's just
what's the name of that nonprofit?
It's called the Conservation Resource Center.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure. I may be getting it a little bit wrong, but
it's the Energy Resource Center.
Energy Resource Center. I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say.
We'll get the link. Yeah, thank you. That's great information.
But that's a good group, but this is probably leading into a bigger discussion about affordable housing, the homeless. I know these are issues that you would like to talk about. And so I'm happy to answer questions and keep giving my speeches here.
Well, so I'm curious, you talked about Drake. Do you feel like that was your biggest accomplishment, or was there something else? Getting Drake,
I think it was one of them. I'm not taking the credit for that. It was a group effort, a lot of people from the community and people that were working hard on this for a long time.
Amy Gray.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But Drake is huge. That's going to reactivate that part of downtown. It will get rid of this eyesore, this terrible image. It was the biggest stationary contributor of carbon dioxide in the state. And then it also contributed to ozone with the nitrous oxide that it produced as well. But the coal trains are what I'd love to get out of downtown. And most of them don't stop at Drake or Nixon. They go down to Texas and Mexico and Arizona, other places. So, but sometimes 20, 30 coal trains a day.
I love getting woken up by them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know, it's great. It's great to hear the ding, 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 ding. And the bigger problem is that coal dust is in that neighborhood. So people, if you go there and you go to their gardens or their fences or their windows, you can scrape the coal off, and people are breathing it, and it's not a wealthy neighborhood. And then whatever pollution happens in that area actually goes over to Hillside. I mean, that's where the pollution flows go, and so you think about the health of our community. I think how we can clean up Drake is going to be important, but how we do other things as well are going to be important.
Yeah. So, for this last cycle, what do you feel was your greatest disappointment?
Well, I was disappointed that we weren't more proactive and aggressive in creating more affordable housing. We built 1,000 units last year, and that's great, but we probably have a 25 or 30,000 deficit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other piece to that is for the homeless. We've done a good job with temporary housing, with the low barrier shelter beds. We now are up to like 700. We added several hundred more.
Yeah.
We're putting in resources at the Springs Rescue Mission that are helping, but what's really needed is permanent supportive housing. And particularly for families, single mothers, people that are really struggling to live day to day in a basically a dorm where they have to leave and be able to try and find work. And we don't have enough daycare facilities, but we don't have enough places for the chronically homeless. And then, you know, there's a group out there they call the hipster homeless, the homeless by choice.
Crust punks.
Yeah, and we don't do a great job of keeping track of them. And in many ways, they're taking resources when they don't need to. And so that's another piece that I know some people may not appreciate that I'm bringing up, but I think we need to be able to make sure that if people are getting resources, that they're also willing to get help and to make the efforts to try to get off the streets.
So how do you do that? Because, you know, that is a big thing, you know, even with the homeless shelters, you know, they turn away families, you know, you can't go in with the mother and father in some cases, and you can't take all of your belongings into the shelter. You know, there's barriers put in the way or things that are perceived to be barriers put in the way of these resources and things. And so, you know, understanding that, you know, I don't know if they are taking the resource or not, or using it in where it could be better used or whatnot. What do we do to fix that? You know what I mean? And
yeah.
What do we do without taking people's civil liberties and things?
No, and I understand that, and you know, a lot of people, you know, 2/3 of the people that are on the streets are really there because they either in extreme poverty, have mental health, substance use, or you know, physical problems, and they can't work, and that's completely understandable. What they've done in Fort Worth is a program where they actually issue an ID card. And people that take advantage of all the services, you know, and there is a fair amount out there. There's a lot of job placement. You know, I don't know if people realize that Catholic Charities, you know, through the Marian House, you know, got 450 homeless people employed, and they're very proactive in helping them with applications and resumes and all the different parts. And you know, there's a lot of those efforts that are being put in place. And when you say people can't come to the shelters with their stuff, it's going to change because Springs Rescue Mission is putting in place 450 storage lockers that will fit shopping carts, and they'll have multiple keys, because I imagine some of the people will lose their first one. But the hope is to have a good day center presence. So people can shower and take care of their health and be able to do their laundry, and then be able to go out in the world. And if they can, or the people that can't, they get into housing first. And all that's going to get better. It's not perfect yet, but the place for people that are chronically homeless, we haven't gotten together at all. And so I've been working with a group. We went down to Austin before the pandemic to look at this tiny home village called Community First, about 250 chronically homeless residents, and they have tiny homes. And it's a really inexpensive way to build them permanent supportive housing. And they have their own kitchen, their own, you know, own places. And it was a great model. We were all set to do it here before COVID came. And then we even had a funder, and it's just something that, again, it's just another piece, but
right.
Well, so I got to ask, so it seems like Colorado Springs, a lot of the ways that Colorado Springs seems to be dealing with homelessness is by trying to sweep homeless people under the rug. And I got to ask you, didn't you support the ordinance banning campers from commercial streets?
Yeah, I did, and it was RVs.
Right. Yeah. RVs.
And but what I also did that maybe people don't realize is with David Geislinger, we led a huge fundraising effort, not huge, but a good one to get in touch with everybody through ecumenical social ministries. And we found places for most of them to be, almost all of them. So we found legal places for them to park. We in many cases fixed up their RVs so they could drive to where families are. We had certain churches adopt them. So it's not like we banned them from the streets, but here was the problem, is that many of them were just parked on the streets for days or weeks or months at a time. dumping raw sewage into our septic systems, creating a lot of trash, sometimes in front of businesses that didn't want them there because it detracted from their business being able to do their business. And it really, our streets aren't meant for permanent supportive housing. And there are places where the RVs can park. In fact, I spent probably 20 hours trying to get an old RV park to convert, but we couldn't do it because the owner didn't want any liability. He wanted zero liability. But that's a work in progress. In fact, churches have started to let RVs park there in small numbers, essentially, and 4 or 5 of them, people that they can take care of and mentor, and they can come in and take showers. But sanitation wise and fire risk wise and all that, you just don't want to allow the streets to be filled with people that are out there at this point, if they have another place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was my issue. Is it seems like a lot of times it's the city is trying to push people off the streets when there aren't necessarily always other places to be. And I know that's like, okay, they're working towards some of these things, but it seems like you build the stuff first and then you can work towards, because so much is just like criminalizing homelessness. You know, I see homeless folks, I live just in your district, just west of downtown there, and I just see homeless folks getting harassed by the police like over and over again. And look, I understand that like homeless people can commit crimes, like everybody can commit crimes, but their entire lifestyle oftentimes seems to be criminalized in Colorado.
Oh, and it's a big issue and a big problem. We give people citations, and if they go to the homeless court, we drop it. And all they have to do is go to the homeless court and say, I'm getting some help. I'm signed up for Social Security disability, or I'm on a list to get an apartment, or I have the opportunity to get some mental health counseling or substance use counseling. And so it's not a system where we're putting people in jail. And so everybody needs to know that. But
I mean, I'm more concerned about ordinances building up.
Yeah, and they're taking their stuff and
and so again, they can move their stuff to these storage units.
Do they got to take it out every day? No.
Unless they want to, they can just take out what they want.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great.
It's their locker. They can do whatever they want. And but no, the other side of the coin, and I know it's not easy for those of us who are passionate about this issue to face, is that there are many people in the community who are really upset about the homeless, the trash, the aggressive panhandling, the drug use, the sexual assaults. There's a group of homeless people that wait for the other homeless to get their Social Security checks so they can go and clunk them over the head. And you can just go down the list. We cleaned up 1,200 camps last year, 2,700 big dumpster loads full of trash. And we're getting people complaining that, constantly, probably 400 or 500 complaints, on my email I could count, or more. I'm trying to get to work. I'm scared to go out. They've camped out here. They've defecated there. They built this fire over here. Yeah, hundreds of fires. So many of them have caused grass fires that we were lucky we didn't lose houses from. Mm-hmm. And so you just have to balance it. So the hope in my mind was let's find a place where everybody can sleep and get a good meal and a shower and do their laundry and store their stuff as a temporary. And they can bring their dogs and they can be inebriated. That's what low barrier shelter beds do. So we put that in place. We've built about 125 permanent supportive housing units, but we probably need about 300-400 more. We even have a tiny home village down in the Sierra Madre area. But all this is just part of the puzzle. And by the way, every city is dealing with this.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, you may want to say, well, let's have just a place where we cordon them off and let them camp. And the cities that have done that have had horrible nightmares. You know, it hasn't worked. But I'm not saying we're perfect, but I think we are compassionate here more than other places. And even the HOT team, they know all these people by name. We have mental health professionals now going out and finding people, not arresting them, just finding them, making sure that they have taken their drugs that day or that they're not going to harm themselves or somebody else, but getting them the help they need, as opposed to having to have them go to come to us.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it's a long, I can talk for hours about
right.
it.
Yeah. We all probably could at that. And I feel like a lot of times that's the problem, right? Like we pontificate and figure out other things and ways that things could happen. And then what ends up happening is we feed like a third of the budget to the CSPD instead of to whatever is creating the homelessness issue here. We had a discussion in the Chinook Center yesterday about, our homelessness issue is coming from something, I've had numerous people that moved to the city, brand new here. And they say, man, you guys got a lot of homeless people. Like it's noticeable to people that aren't from here that we have a problem. And, we believe that it's, we can say that they're got mental health and they're on drugs. There's things that happen at these circumstance, they lost their job or whatever. But we believe that there's something other, like there's something that's creating all of these problems. Maybe it's not one something, maybe it's a bunch of things that are creating these problems, and focusing on that should be whatever those things are, the city,
right,
whoever it is, focusing on that should be where we need to put our everything that we have, our budget, our smarts, everything that all of our experience into fixing these things. District 11 and District 2. Well, actually, we could just talk about Mitchell High School firing all of their staff because they're doing subpar work in that school with a 70% graduation rate. So, that contributes to homelessness. And for the ones of us that can't, put those two things together, I believe that that's our problem. We need to educate those folks to understand that prison, that school to prison pipeline is created. If it's not putting them in prison, it may be creating homelessness as well, And
exactly. Everything you're saying is really true. And so that's why, Yolanda and I and a few of us on council, actually Dave Geisinger, have been really fighting for a lot more of the budget share for these purposes. And I know it doesn't seem, it pales in comparison to what we spend on police and fire.
Yeah, like not even
public safety.
All of those things that you laid out and said, hey, these are things, like those things that you laid out are things that the people in the city are like, yes, we agree with that. But then we were like, oh shoot, all of our money's going to more cops. Not one thing that you said it was build up the police force to fix it. But that's what it feels like that's what we do here in the city. And, I'm wondering, we are all wondering, like, when do we stop this and how can we stop this? And when you say a good council, if we get a good council, there's things that could get done. What kind of a council do we need to listen to the people on this thing and
really start moving those resources
to talk about the police?
No, and I'm not opposed to any of that. In fact, I think it's really good. And I'm hoping that this LETAC, the Law Enforcement Transparency and Accountability Commission, it really comes forward with some good, strong suggestions about all that. But I'll give you the other side, and I know you don't want to hear this necessarily.
We do.
We always want to hear it.
Colorado Springs has gotten to be a much more dangerous place for a lot of reasons. So we lead the state in sexual assaults. We lead the state in domestic violence. We have the highest murder rate in the state. We have a lot of drug cartels have centered here because we're pretty close to Mexico, and fentanyl is just going crazy out in the streets. We've done a pretty good job as a national society or country monitoring and keeping opioids out of people's hands prescription wise, but not on the streets. And then we have the highest traffic accident death rate we've ever had, bicycle, pedestrian, you go through the whole list. And so you're saying, all right, he's just making excuses. But having said that, we need a police force. We needed more because we were having 16-minute response times to level 1 emergencies. And the police officers weren't backed up. And so some of the issues that you're concerned about, they pull out their guns too fast. And a lot of it is about, just that they're there alone, they're scared, whatever it is. But having said that, there's a huge number of issues with the police department. And I promise you, if I'm elected again, I'm going to look at every one of them and make sure that we're doing them the best way we can. And we can't recreate the past. So, what mistakes we've made in the past, we can learn from. But for me, it's about use of force policies. It's about de-escalation. It's about sending out mental health professionals out for mental health calls, sexual assault for sexual assault calls, all the things that you talk about. And I'm not interested in having less police. I'm interested in having people that are trained, whether they're police or not, be able to respond. And then the same thing is true with the fire department. The fire department gets to 80% of the medical emergencies first. And we stabilize the patient. They treat everybody. They don't care who it is. They're very good at care if they're homeless or whatever it is. They're saving lives. And we are facing a very significant wildfire risk here. And so, do we want to have that be not funded when they're out there saving lives, or could we do it better? And so, we put together a CARES team that goes out when there's a mental health call that is from the fire department, not from the police department. But we can get a lot better about all that. And we need to have community policing back. When I was on council before, we did.
Right.
So we hired people that represented the communities that they were patrolling. And they were the same people on the beat all the time. And they got to know the people, and they knew who were troublemakers and who weren't, and who really needed help.
Right.
We took that away.
How do we get to that?
Yeah, Niski has said he's opposed to community policing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm in favor of it. But
how is that he said that?
He said it like he's opposed to it. And that kind of leads to a question. And I know that you probably can't comment on things that he said that you didn't hear him say or whatnot. But a general question that we have is Niski a good police chief?
Well, I'm not going to publicly say that he's good or bad. There are things about him that are good, and things about him that I'm not as pleased with. And I wish he had been much more proactive when Devon Bailey was shot.
Right. So
in reaching out to the community, and he and I had arguments about it. It's not, and he. Well, it's a case and we can't, until the evidence is, you don't want to influence, and, all these excuses. But
right.
Meanwhile, the Devon Bailey family was hurting, and all the friends and the whole community was, and nobody was reaching out to them.
Right.
I offered, by the way, but nobody, it didn't matter from me, why people from Richard Skorman, but it needed to be the mayor and the police chief. And I think they're going to get better at that. That's what I'm really hoping we come up with, is a good public relations policy and effort. And I can tell you other things that I was upset about too. I fought with them about having the sheriff's office and the local district attorney be the ones to determine that case.
Right.
And I even called, by the way, I called the attorney general, and then got to Governor Polis. And I think one of the reasons that they were suggesting an independent investigation was partly because of me. But no, I was really upset about it. I didn't like the optics. It didn't, you can go through the whole list of what was being talked about then.
Yeah. John has one more for you, but I just want to follow real quick.
Okay. And I know this is another long subject. I'm sorry. Yeah.
This goes back, staying on this track here, we saw the way that Niski and Mayor Suthers reacted not only to the Devon Bailey murder, but also to the protests over the summer. And we have our own thoughts about it, and we asked Yolanda this too. What are your thoughts? Do you think that Chief Niski and Mayor Suthers really think that there's an actual problem in the police force in the city of Colorado Springs with bias? Because it seems to me like Mayor Suthers basically was just waiting for this to go away and wasn't really going to address these issues. I'm curious your thoughts. You're closer to him than me.
Well, no, I'll be the devil's advocate here. No, they understand that they wouldn't be, for example, the chief wouldn't have hired one of the best consultants in the country to look at our use of force policies. They wouldn't have put in place a new access system to hopefully allow anybody to be able to access records right away. And they wouldn't have bought into this LETAC commission with so much enthusiasm if they really didn't want to hear from the community. That group is going out and they're going to be doing town halls, and then they're going to be hopefully looking at best practices and talking to experts from around the country who have been dealing with these problems for a long time. And we certainly could improve. And I don't know what yet. I don't know how yet. But that's where I think having a good council and the mayor's ear. I mean, and to the mayor's credit, I invited the Devon Bailey family and friends to council for 2 hours for a citizens discussion, and they all got up, and the mayor sat there and listened and didn't respond, and came out with a new feeling about all this. And so I think there's an education piece. I'm not saying that they won't be resistant. John Suthers was the Attorney General and the DA, and he comes from law enforcement, and he was the head of the prison system. So his background and notion is that we have a great police department. We don't racial profile, or we don't have bias, and all we need to do is have it be more diverse and learn about some of the best practices. Well, let's see what we do well. Let's see what we don't do well, and then really try to change it. And then have a way for the public to really give us feedback, not just, when we happen to have this commission meeting for the next couple of months or whatever, next 6 months or a year, but for the long run.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I have the answers, but I just, I know that there's more interest, and the demonstrations are what did it, by the way. I've never seen them so scared.
We were gonna ask what your thoughts were about the protest and how they were handled this summer.
Terribly in some cases.
Yeah.
And I felt that way. They shouldn't have used tear gas.
Right.
They shouldn't have used rubber bullets, except below the waist. They shouldn't have used mace. They shouldn't have taken people and maced them right in their face. They shouldn't have taken them to jail when they weren't doing it. No, I could go through the whole list.
Charged with felony riot.
Yeah, there's people.
No, I know all those things, but having said that, there was another side that some people were violent and scary. In some cases, they were
You're talking about the police.
White supremacists.
There was one group of people shooting people out there.
No, nobody wanted anybody to shoot, but the vast majority of those demonstrations were positive and peaceful, and people were willing to get out there in the middle of COVID and take a risk. And I thought it was one of the best things that happened. We listened. You needed to be out there to do that, and I, for one, appreciate it.
Yeah, we there was a few council members that once it got going, they were like, and you could tell. Then we'll talk about the I guess the interactions that we had with the city council members throughout the summer, in a couple of our wrap-up shows. But I did want to talk to you about we brought up LETAC already, and that you feel that they can be effective, but there was also a commission that you could have enacted, and I don't know what the name was. It a presidential?
Yeah, it was going to be the presidential commission.
I don't know why you chose not to do that.
Well, I could have done it, but it would have been a parallel group that wouldn't have had any resources. So I'll be honest with you. When I brought it up, I wanted to have maybe some of you and Stephanie Rose Spalding and Promise Lee, people that I know that I feel were really have been really involved in these issues. Be a big part of either selecting that group or putting in place the parameters of the group. And I've been open to looking at civilian review boards. I'm not opposed to it. In fact, we sent a group down to the National Association, the NACOL conference, a couple commanders and, a council member and other community leaders. And I don't know where we would go with that, but certainly understand what works and what doesn't. But having said that, there's an ability, I think, now to really understand how we can move forward. And whether LETAC does it well or not, I'm not sure. But at the time, I wanted to choose my own. I just thought, well, I don't quite trust, everybody else and the police chief and everybody weighing in. But I think it's a pretty balanced group. I really do. I think they're mostly good people that really care about the things that you do. But I know there's an ex-police chief and there's a no, but by the way,
No victim representation.
Lou Velez was part of a huge diversity initiative in the police department. And a diversity training, and so I'm just saying that I know he's a police chief.
Protesters, anti-war protesters.
Anti-war
too.
protesters. He did.
Oh, did he? Okay. It was the anti-Iraq war. Yeah, I was there. No, I was really upset.
And then of course, what's the
and by the way, I pounded the table on that one.
Flick's wife is on there. Flick's Micah Flick's wife is on there.
No, I know, but then you have. You have several other people that are very committed,
but nobody from
no police victims' families were on there. I don't understand that for me was the punch in the gut. That she was
nobody applied
her to be on that board.
No, nobody applied. I tried to get so many people.
No, we did apply. That's not true.
I know you did. Yeah, I supported you, by the way.
Even Lisa Villanueva didn't even make it to the second round, and she was the NAACP president.
I know, and I supported.
Definitely corruption in there, and I feel like you could have enacted that board and counteracted the garbage that they produced with not. I don't want to call those people garbage. I'd take that back. I don't mean to say that, but I do mean to say that what they did is not going to be effective, and the people that they selected were obviously very.
Sean, what do you think about Deb Walker? What do you think about Justin Baker? Justin was out there, all the time. I tried to get other people on there, but I didn't prevail. But no, that's why I wanted to do. That's why I wanted to do my own.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
But I got a call from the mayor that morning and said, if you do it, you're on your own. You're going to have no authority. You're not going to be able to get any resources.
You could have used the people and told us that, because this is why he should not have gotten away with that. With threatening.
Well, it's just what he wanted, and
he told you will be unaffected because I said so. You better not even do it.
No, it just wouldn't have made sense to have one that was off there on its own with no authority and no power and no money and.
Actually, this would have rose the people.
But Sean, let me finish. Right afterwards, I told everybody, "Do you want me to still do it?" I called up everybody, and nobody said yes. Okay, so I didn't.
Can I get on that list? Can I get on the everybody list?
Yeah,
you should put me on the. Can I get on the everybody list, Richard? Man.
So, Richard,
I'm just saying that the people in my world who who are connected to the Devon Bailey family.
So
we'll be friends one day, Richard.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you with regards to that relationship between the council and the mayor. It seems to me like this. I know I didn't live here at the time, but I read about it. Like, the former mayor, the council just didn't get along with, right?
Yeah.
Council Bach. And it seems to me like a lot of people on council right now, they don't want to upset Southers too much because there's like a fairly good working relationship.
He's obviously a bully. Look,
but it seems to me like, I don't know, like council needs to have a little bit more independence from the mayor. Like, you guys have control of the budget, for example. You guys could do a lot of these things. Maybe there's not a question there. Maybe it's just a commentary that I'm bringing forward.
We're just dumbfounded that the mayor just bullied the people into not. That's crazy. How many other times has he done that? Told you guys, oh, you are not going to be affected because I said so. Your voice for the people is crap because I said so. that.
Well,
it makes
but
my blood boil. I should
give
pull up to the
Lee
driveway.
Tech a chance, Sean. Really, have you been to those meetings? Have you seen what the questions they've asked? Have you been to the town
Yeah,
halls? Have you understood what they're asking about, the budget, all the things that
of
you
course
want?
I have. Yes, yes,
So if it's not enough, you should tell them.
all right,
You know,
okay.
but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater yet. You might be right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
no, Mayor Suthers, I just looked at a poll. He is the most popular elected politician in the city by far. He has a 68% approval rating. Okay. I'll tell you some things that, you may be surprised about, but he welcomes the Gay Pride Parade. He allowed us to build the rainbow, put the rainbow paint on the sidewalk. He told Vidaire, the white supremacist group, that if they came to Colorado Springs, they would not get any police protection, and he was personally sued for it. He told the police department not to ask for citizenship IDs of people that they're stopping for traffic violations. He said, "Do not cooperate with ICE. That's not our job." And he, he's made some efforts in the city. I don't know if you like our new Danielle, our new diversity coordinator, but I do, Danielle Somerville. I think she's going to make some good efforts. But maybe you don't like her, but he has her directly reporting to him as opposed to somebody in HR. He's making some efforts that you may agree with. Now, is he perfect? No. Do we always agree? Not. No, we don't. We fight. But when you lose, you don't hold grudges, especially from the most popular politician in the region. And unfortunately, the reality of where we live, it was great to have 44% of the people vote for Biden this time around. Obama only got 36 and 38, and that's better. But look at the top 5 most conservative cities in the country, and we're always number 1 and 2.
Right.
I think part of that is the left has to be loud and proud here.
Right,
I think that's part of it. It's not like
the
we
left
don't
cannot
exist.
be shut up by the mayor and telling city council they don't count.
So tell them to tell people to vote.
Yeah.
We have these city elections where there's 25% voter turnout. The average age is 58, and 12 or 13% of the voters choose it. And it's whoever
but
can.
When you're in there, you got to get up there and you got to stand up too.
And I have so much hope, because I think this last election really did motivate a lot of people to vote.
Yeah, and I think
and Black Lives Matter did, and so did climate change.
Yeah,
and I
think that 23 is going to be a year that we're going to be able to obviously get rid of Southers, but then figure out the rest of the stuff here for the people, and the stop allowing our politicians
to just there's an R, there's an R.
Yeah, our most what is his name? What is the most popular politician in the city to tell us that we don't count?
It's the nature of where we live with so much retired military, and we just happen to be a city where a lot of people move. But I think it's really changing.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people in your generation are really getting the passion for local politics.
Yeah, and
us old white guys need to step down. That's why I'm really fighting for council pay as well. That's another issue.
Right.
Because nobody can afford to put 40, 50 hours a week in unless they're retired military, or they have people. I'm lucky to have a wife that can run my business. Business.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I gotta say, I agree with you to some extent. I grew up here, and then I moved out to the East Coast for 12 years or so, and I came back, and it was a lot less conservative. It seemed less conservative to me.
And a lot of people are moving from the North Front Range because it's just gotten too expensive and congested there.
But one of the things, so I want to go back to this. You have these ideas for moving forward, like especially a lot of green initiatives. But how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it as city council? That Yolanda talked about Tabor, things like this. How are you actually going to move forward with a lot of these things when we don't have any new sources of funding? There's no mass structural change that's happening. So how do you as a city council person move forward with, green initiatives, or more money for affordable housing, or more money for I mean, anything really, drug addiction council, any of these things. So how are you going to do that as a counselor in the future?
Well, and each of those are a different question. So I wish I had an easy answer for you. It wouldn't go on for 10 minutes, but no, we've been doing much better than the previous council, but we could do 10 times better in all those issues. And it is about funding. It's also about directing resources. It's about being innovative, how we zone, what we let to have happen where, how we stand up to neighborhoods that don't want those people living there, what we require of new multifamily apartment complexes. Do we want to require that some of them have affordable and attainable units in order to be able to be built? That's what other cities have done and done successfully. But there's a lot of moving parts, and I'd certainly be willing to be on another show if you wanted to go through each area.
Yes,
but do you support requiring
be a lot more proactive? What's that?
Do you support requiring affordable housing in new developments,
or a
like
higher rate?
50% to 30% of the income?
I do, but there is no traction from anybody else on council except Yolanda. But I think it's the only way we're going to get out of it. What we should do first, because nobody's going to support that kind of government mandate, is number one, really protect people from evictions. And so one of the things I've been doing recently, I don't know if you know, but I've been working a lot with senior complexes in the last 4 years, and probably 250, 275 people. I've been personally involved in raising money to make sure that they can find new places that work for their disabilities, that they have money for moving, that they aren't evicted right away, that they have the ability to keep their lives whole. And we actually set up a position at Silver Key just recently. I was able to raise money for, because it's become such a problem that we need to be preemptive. So seniors, all over the city are dealing with this bad leases. Everybody wants to tear down their apartments and build something market. And so it's something that I've really been passionate about, but we need to do that with everybody. That bridge funding is key. And then having people get the not only the stock, which is important, but to be able to get priority if they don't have any other choices. So single moms, people that are have mental and physical problems, all that is where we really need to focus. And not so much. I'd love it if we could build many units for the Safeway worker, and we'll do our best to do that. But we need to get to the people most in need first, and that's where I really focus my energies. But having said that, we have a long way to go, a very long way to go. And so I think we can be a lot more proactive. I think it should be a big chunk of our general fund, and we should look at other resources. Affordable housing is the biggest crisis that we're facing, and then the homeless crisis that stems from it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a countrywide issue. I think Colorado Springs, if we really want to be an innovative city,
right? We want to be the best city to live in, and number one city in the nation. Yeah. We got a couple comments from our listeners here. Richard, Sam, she says that the council can be a counterbalance to the mayor, and being I agree with being the president of the council, like you should be the chief counterbalance of the mayor. And I believe that when the people see that the council is bucking back at the mayor, then you have the people that put, who you represent, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of does what it's supposed to do when you like fight him straight out in public to his face, and then we hear you, and then we come and get your back, because we put you in that seat, or they put you in that seat, and you should have the confidence in us to keep you there. Now, being that the community is more active in doing, than it has been in the past, do you see that being something that the council can do, or is that something that's not even a thing here?
No. I mean, we got into it publicly and privately around the Black Lives Matter issue, certainly about rec marijuana, which I strongly support just because it's here, and I feel like we can then realize the revenue. And I was hoping that the revenue would go to affordable housing. It could be 10, 12, 15 million a year. I mean, that's significant. And you start to think about those two dispensaries in Manitou the two busiest in the country, for
Right.
There's always a line out in front of them.
But having said that, I'm not afraid to confront him. But here's what you need to know about me: I'm not going to pick a fight just to pick a fight, and I'm not going to publicly embarrass somebody unless there's a purpose or a goal. And I don't get personal, and it's just my nature. But I will, confront, and we're dealing with a PLDO issue about the amount of land that we dedicate, and allow the developers to dedicate to us, and I've been out front on it, and really saying we shouldn't be doing this right now. It's not the right time. We want to be a better city for parks. And he doesn't like it, and we fight about it. And sometimes, a lot of times, it's public. But having said that, there's other things that you don't want to go in there and be the enemy of everybody else just to show that you are there. You want to be able to be constructive. So for example, he got much more willing to look at general fund money budget for low barrier shelter beds when he wasn't in the beginning, and I was able to help him realize how important that was. So I just think you have to weigh it, and we also have to realize the kind of place that we live. Unfortunately, it's not yet a place that somebody like me or Yolanda or whoever else you might like has the strongest voice out there.
I understand. I think that having the South Side and the West Side, the people on both of those sections of the city, we probably can make you the president of the country if we wanted to. That's how powerful we are.
Thank you.
But listen, so a couple of our viewers, they want to talk about this housing stuff. Lorenzo is saying that the city needs to expand city-owned housing, and Gennaro's asking, he wants to know, do you support cooperative housing that is owned by the residents?
Yes, no, absolutely. It should be owned by the residents, or there should be a way for them to buy it. It's funny, my wife lived on the Upper West Side of New York when I met her, and her big sacrifice was coming here and giving up her rent-controlled apartment, which she would have been able to buy for $2,500. Imagine the Upper West Side of New York. But it was a African American owned building, and everybody in the building was a minority except for her. She was the only one. But having said that, no, those are the kind of things we definitely need to get people, to be able to control their own futures, to be able to garner enough wealth to take care of their families. And so, no, I absolutely support it. I absolutely support everything that we can do. One of the ones that I keep bringing up that nobody seems to care about is that the city owns a lot of land. And if you think about affordable housing, the most expensive piece of it is the land first.
Right.
And so could we donate land? We did. We gave a Greshio Housing Project land for $1 up by Austin Bluffs because they were building a senior affordable housing complex. But there's just a lot more we can do, and I don't think people realized it was as much of a crisis as it is today, and I don't think they realize what we're going to be facing with COVID on this. It's going to be, they call it an eviction tsunami, and it's really going to be a crisis that nobody.
It's going to be a people in the street tsunami. Y'all evict too many people now, Richard.
I agree.
Yeah, we're not going to accept that. Sam asked, do you support union workers as a part of a way to address economic issues in our city?
Well, unions, I've always, supported, but I always want to make sure that they are going to be effective, or that they need to be in place, and to not say that every city employee should be unionized, or every airport employee. I just don't know what all that means. Yeah. And because I have seen, like, for example, with police unions around the country, they in many ways have been the culprits in bad police practices. So I want to understand what that means. But no, I support the notion. I think it's a good one, especially, in a city like ours that's so conservative. They may be able to really help themselves and their families more.
So would you support employees at your workplace unionizing?
Unionizing.
Yeah, if they want it, I would. Yeah, I mean, nobody's brought it up. We
You could ask them if they want to and send them to us. We'll organize them, Richard.
Yeah, you can organize them. I hope they appreciate that. Yeah, we pay a living wage. You start people around 15 an hour. You have health insurance and pay vacations and family sick leave, and yeah, we really try with our employees, but yeah, nobody's getting rich there. I understand that, and it's not easy to be in the small business world these days. So
yeah.
All right.
The school district.
Oh yeah, we asked Yolanda the same question. It's been coming up a lot more over the past several months. I've noticed the idea of a unified school district. Do you support the idea of having a unified school district in Colorado Springs as a date?
Yeah, I always have, but I just don't know how you make it happen overnight. In fact, I'd love to see a city-county government because I think there's a lot of efficiencies that could be gained. Why should there be a city park department and snow plows and the county the same way? But no, it's what do we have? 13 school districts.
Yeah.
Some of them are have wealthy homeowners, and so they're the ones that are really providing the best education. District 12, District 20. There's not a way to spread resources. I absolutely think it would be great, but I just don't know how to make it happen. Yeah. These are structured entities that are in place that are not easy to.
Just need to start talking about it.
Hey, we just got to put it in the air, Richard. We got to take care, get it for the kids now.
Yeah, good.
For the kids. Hey, so I think we went through our questions,
yeah,
man.
We did. I mean, we could go longer.
I know. I'm sorry. I get caught up in the details of things.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You've been a politician a long time. We understand.
Yeah.
And I know that I make $500 a month. $3.10 an hour, and I'm worth every penny that you guys pay for it.
Indeed.
Right,
indeed.
Well, we do support the raise for city council.
Yeah, we want that.
No, me too. And it probably shouldn't be for me, but it should be for future council members, because otherwise we'll never get people like you who are interested to be part of all this.
Yeah. So hey, well, I got to tell you that for one, I appreciate I've never really had a bad experience with you. I feel like there's been times where you said something to me and it really didn't happen or didn't go the way that we talked about it, but I can never say that you didn't talk to me, even when you had no idea who I was, so I appreciate it. You came on this show, you gave us a great effort, and I really appreciate everything that you've done, and good luck on your run, man. And and thanks for supporting Yolanda Avila as well.
Yeah, we definitely.
No, she's great, and I hope that we, two of us make it back, and a couple other people that that I like, Glenn Carlson and Nancy Henjum, have good possibilities of winning in District 1 and District 5, and so I just want.
I watched Nancy Henjum's town hall the other day, and we're going to send her an invite, as well as we're going to ask all of the. We want to get all the incumbents done first, and then we're going to ask everyone that's running to come on. So hopefully she'll join us. She was talking about affordable housing for a big chunk of that town hall as well. Yeah, no, great, and but tell everybody to vote. That's the thing. It's just so easy to go. It's a city election. It doesn't matter. They don't do that much, and so that's the part that I hope people really participate in, and maybe it'll be an eye opener. Maybe people will think, boy, there's a new voter out there that we have to really worry about. And that would be my biggest hope in terms of changing policies going into the future. So thank you for allowing me to do this. And
definitely. I can't wait till you guys open up again. I got no place to work.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
Man, we got to get up in there and yell at y'all. All right. Hey, thanks, Richard. Appreciate it, man. All power.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye-bye.